Hey guys, it's Sarah, the wine-loving bookworm, back again with another book review for you today. I feel like the lighting is really weird in this video. I'm so not good at this stuff, so if anybody knows how to make it less blurry, I just feel like it's so blurry, just let me know. I need help with this. I feel like I need to hire somebody to help me with this, but anyway, moving on. I am on my last 5 days of the whole 30, so I'm almost there. I'm almost to being back to being able to drink wine like I should be. But last night, I have another kombucha, another GTS Energy, and this one's called Hibiscus Ginger. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. I'm feeling pretty happy and positive tonight since this is the last time I got to drink this crap. So let's give it a shot. Cheers. Ooh. Okay, not great. Not as bad as some of them. Not as good as the gingerberry. Let's try it one more time. It's just really strong, burning kind of strong. Okay, put that to the side. Now we're going to do something a little different tonight. I'm going to talk about 2 books I have read. I think I kind of brought it up last week, but I'm really excited about it because I really like these books for a million different reasons. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it. I just finished, let me bring it out, Finding Odyssa by Jennifer Pharr Davis, and it is about a woman that walks the Appalachian Trail, which I'll talk about in a minute if you don't know what that is. And then I read this on my Kindle, so I had to put it on my phone. I don't know if you can really see that at all. It's Wild by Cheryl Strayed. See, now the lighting just changed. This is how I want it. Why can't I get it that time? Anyway, Wild, again, by, you really can't see that, but it's there, by Cheryl Strayed. And she walked the Pacific Crest Trail. So I kind of read both of them and compare and contrast. There's a lot of similarities, but a whole lot of differences too. So, starting with the biggest similarity, and what drew me to the book is that they were females, went out, walked these trails by themselves. They didn't have, they met up with people. Sometimes Jennifer actually had a lot of family that she stayed with. She actually stayed with her immediate family several times over the course of the trail. So there was, some of that, but for the most part, they were by themselves, which I found just fascinating. Isn't that just completely terrifying to do that? Apparently not. Maybe it's because you're in your 20s and you think you're invincible. I don't know. And sorry, the rain. You can really hear the rain going, I think, but this room has a tin roof over it, so there's a little bit of background music tonight. So the Appalachian Trail goes from Springer Mountain in Georgia to Katahdin, I think, Mountain in Maine, and it is 2,175 miles. She did the entire thing, Georgia to Maine. Some people do Maine to Georgia. She did Georgia to Maine. Now the Pacific Crest Trail goes from the Mexico border to the Canada border, like up California, Oregon, and Washington. She didn't do the whole thing. She did, I think, somewhere around 1,100 miles of it. But the whole thing is 2,663 miles. I feel like she did a little bit more than 1,100 miles looking on the map, but I'm not exactly sure. So she basically went from Tehachapi, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Pass in California to the Bridge of Gods, which is right on the Washington and Oregon line. So their backgrounds, first of all, were wildly different, and it really influenced, I think, the writing and just their perspective on the books. Jennifer, who was the Appalachian Trail, she was fresh out of college, really hadn't had any life experiences, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, gonna walk this trail. Cheryl, on the other hand, had just devastating things happen to her. When she was a senior in college, she grew up kind of poor with just her mom. Her dad left when she was younger. But her mom remarried, and she did like the guy she remarried. And she had 2 younger siblings as well. But they grew up kind of poor. They spent a lot of their childhood in basically a converted barn, because that's where the stepfather and the mom wanted to live. So there was a lot of kookiness and, quirkiness to her childhood. But she did go to college, and her mom actually went with her because this college that she went to allowed the parent to take classes too, something along those lines. So, but then when Cheryl was in her senior year, her mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and it came really fast at the end, and she was just devastated by losing her mother. And she couldn't get over it. And she was actually married. She got married real young while she was still in school. And her marriage just crumbled under the grief she felt over her mother. She ended up cheating on her husband all the time, kind of going all over the place, not, going here, going there, going to Texas, going to Oregon, going to Minnesota. Like, she just couldn't settle down. It was bad marriage, obviously. And they ended up divorcing pretty amicably after all of that at the end, but they ended up divorcing. And she just continued to spiral. Adultery, or not adultery anymore, but just kind of promiscuity, drugs, just completely unhappy with her life. And she saw a guidebook one day about the Pacific Crest Trail and basically was like, I'm going. And that's another difference. Jennifer went to she kind of planned it a little bit better. She went to a Appalachian Trail school for 3 days before she went out there. So she kind of had a real good game plan. Cheryl just pretty much went. And sometimes, when you read the book, you get the feeling she kind of had a death wish. Like, she didn't really care. Like, she was just going out there and whatever. I don't care what happens to me. That kind of changes along her journey. But you kind of get that feeling in the beginning. So that's kind of where they came from background. So you're talking about, and Cheryl wasn't that old. I think she was 26, 27 when she walked the trail. But Jennifer was more 21, 22. And Cheryl had lived a lot of life in between those years. So they had a lot of the same experiences. Both of them were fairly unprepared when they went out there. Cheryl especially, she just bought all this crap, stuck it in this huge backpack, and there's a very funny scene in the beginning where she can't even stand up with the backpack because it's so heavy, and she's like, holy crap, what did I do? So that really hurt her early on. She thought she was going to be just booking it down the trail, and she was doing like a mile an hour. The pack was just killing her. Jennifer had some similar experiences. I didn't really read a lot about the pack being too heavy, although she had to adjust to being able to walk, with the pack on her. Cheryl took to burning pace. She had a guidebook, and every night she would burn the chapter she had read just so that a little bit wouldn't be in there, or she'd break the end off her toothbrush just so that little bit wouldn't be adding to her weight. She learned these things as she went. Jen did not like cooking at all. She had a disaster with the stuff she brought. So she decided, I'm just going to eat Pop-Tarts and peanut butter and dried fruit. And that's what she did the entire time, except for when she went into some towns along the way and actually had a decent meal. And then Cheryl broke her stove, the first week she was out. And a lot of her food had to be cooked on the stove. So she ended up having to hitchhike and get somewhere that they could fix her stove because she was going to run out of food. And then Jen always had a problem with rationing her food. She always ate too much of it, and then she didn't have enough. So there was a lot of these growing pains, learning experiences by both of them on the trail. There's a lot of animals they ran into. Snakes, lots of snakes. Rattlesnakes, both of them did. Jen always wanted to see a bear. She never did. Cheryl saw a bear. What she thought, she came upon this animal, and she thought it was a moose. For some reason, that's the first thing that went in her head, and she kept saying moose, moose, but it was, I think, actually a steer or a bull or something. And Jen also had an encounter with a bull and a moose, so it was kind of funny to see these two different women having similar encounters on opposite sides of the country. People were really interesting too. I mean, as a female, I would just feel terrified doing this, but you kind of just got to rely on the kindness of strangers and trust people. The hitchhiking, the kind of just meeting people on the trail and just going along with them and just trusting that they're good people. And for the most part, they were. Cheryl, I think, had one incident where it got a little hairy and she had to take off and just leave. And she ended up in the dark running through the woods because she just felt like she got a bad vibe. Jen had one incident where a guy kind of wouldn't leave her alone, just kept following her on the trail. Every day he'd be there. She'd try to leave him early and he'd catch up with her. And then wherever they were sheltered that day, she'd try to leave early again and he'd catch up with her. And, that went on for days. So there were some kind of iffy moments. But overall, I was just shocked that they didn't have more bad things. You just instantly think a woman alone walking on these trails, such a bad idea, but their experiences, tell otherwise. So, and then of course they met crazy people along the trail. A guy who talked like a pirate, and a guy who was just naked, like standing on the trail. Jen had an encounter with a hunter, so they meet all these really different kinds of people. And both of them had encounters with people that actually just go to the trail and try to help the hikers, which just, they like it. I can, just because Jen's story is more fresh in my mind, they called it trail magic. And that was everything from a guy with an RV pulled up to the trail, cooking food for everybody, to a church that actually opened their basement and let all the hikers come in and eat, to just people would leave stuff along the trail, coolers, food. I thought that was really interesting and kind of, a lot of them were past hikers, so maybe that's why they do it, but it was lifesavers, and it was like a little Christmas every time they found something, so that was interesting. And the people just always seemed nice. Yeah, so, I don't know, maybe they were lucky, maybe that's how it is, maybe people are nicer than we think, I don't know. Weather was always a problem, pouring down rain, super duper hot. Both of them had snowstorm incidents. The Cheryl actually had to reroute part of her path because she couldn't go over the mountains. The Sierra Nevadas are so deep in snow. So they both had that. Trail names, becoming Odyssa, that was actually Jen's trail name on the trail, and that was very popular on the Appalachian Trail. As I remember, I don't think that they had that on the Pacific Crest Trail. Just people didn't choose a name, and that's what they went by. But that was all they did on the Appalachian Trail. They didn't really even know their own name, their real names, people you meet. She was Odyssa because she studied classical literature in college, I think, and she loved Homer's Odyssey, and she felt like it fit, so she did it. But that wasn't, as I said, Cheryl just went by Cheryl. Their overall experience, Jen, as I said, she was more prepared, and she made a lot of stops, and she had a lot of family. Her dad came and picked her up at one point. Cheryl obviously didn't have the family, and she did stay in motels, and so did Jen once in a while, but she didn't have anybody she knew. She really just went out there and just kind of did this. I mean, she had some bare minimum planning, but, not something that I think I would do. Maybe at 22, I don't know. Physical ailments were a lot. Like I told you, that Cheryl had that huge backpack, so it really took some getting used to walk with that. And even though Jen didn't really seem to have as big of a pack, she also had trouble getting used to it. And they all said, both of them said, your socks are so important. Jen actually got this really bad, almost rash thing, I'm not sure, on the bottom of her feet. Cheryl had black toes, blisters, just crazy. So, they said socks were really important. What got them to go out on the trail, I thought was very interesting from book to book. Jen was obviously a Christian. God was very important to her. Christianity very important to her. She saw God everywhere. She felt calling by God to do this and to go out on the trail. And she talked about it a lot in the book. Not in an overwhelming amount. It's not like that. But she did talk about it in the book. Where Cheryl wasn't, God really didn't factor into it. But whereas Jen saw God a lot in her travel, Cheryl saw her mom. She would feel her mom. And she would feel her mom's presence everywhere. So that was kind of similar, that they were both, had somebody with them kind of the whole time, and that comforted them when things got rough. Because things get rough when you're walking thousands of miles, let's be honest here. Jen liked the solitude. I mean, she would meet up with people that she became friends with, but she would want to be by herself. She'd be like, leaving you behind and going by myself. So she really liked the solitude. She didn't miss the news, she said, or celebrities. When she went into a town that had a Walmart or something, she felt huge sensory overload at that point. So she really liked that. Cheryl at first was mad that she wanted to go out there and find herself, become a different person, get over her mom, deal with this grief, figure out why she had just spiraled into drug use and sleeping with every guy. And she was mad at first because all she could do was concentrate on the fact that her feet hurt so bad and her back was killing her, and she wasn't having these profound moments, and she wasn't meditating by lakes and stuff. It was just totally different than she thought it was going to be. So I mean, that kind of came a little bit later, but that was kind of funny to me, because actually in my mind, that is what helps you through those things, kind of doing this hard work and bettering yourself in some ways, and then dealing with all the crap later on. So, Jen, and then again, like, Jen was like, oh, nothing distracts me, I'm just with my thoughts, and I've never had that before, and I don't have a TV to look at or a book to read, and I'm just going. Whereas Cheryl was like, everything's distracting me, my feet hurt, my shoulders hurt, my back hurts, I can't sleep, it's raining, it's snowing. So it was kind of funny to see the juxtaposition between the two girls with that. Both of them had, like, many bad days, but one extremely bad day, and one where Cheryl loses her boots, which is a really great story in the book. And then where Jen just loses jewelry, breaks her watch, her pack starts falling apart. Both of them said ski poles were really important, some kind of hiking ski pole. And Jen ends up losing hers and, buys a mop and just breaks off the handle and uses it. And that ends up breaking. So both of them have these really bad days, but they soldier on. They both journal, which obviously probably helped them in writing the book. And of course you would journal, like doing a trip like this. They both was much more difficult than they ever thought. And there was also like a thing, I guess, that the hikers do where they mail stuff to themselves. They send boxes to post offices in towns along the way, and then they can go pick it up. Like, so they open a box and they've got more food, or they've got a new pair of shoes, or a book. Cheryl's case, she would like send herself books so she could read them, and again burn the pages in the morning so they wouldn't be so heavy in her pack. There was a romance in both books. One, Cheryl, outside of her philandering, she actually met a guy in Oregon that she liked and kind of connected with. And then Jen met a guy called Nightwalker, again, trail names, that she kind of connected with. So there was a little bit of romance in there, not at all, a main focus of the story whatsoever. It was very much about these women and their experience on the trails. So if I had to pick one I like better, I just like Wild better because it was so raw. I mean, you felt her grief. You felt like you were there with her, just going through these stages of getting past her mom, figuring out why she had turned to drugs and men, and the breakup of her marriage. I mean, she was just in shambles. And the writing just really portrayed that and portrayed her turnaround. And she was just very honest and very raw. And I just loved that about the book. Jen, I think because of her age at the time, and maybe not, she didn't come from this experience where she could, put that into her hike or, whatever, her becoming this whole different person. She did go through, of course, some personal things and became, through experience, who she wanted to be. And she went out there to kind of set out to be like, what do I want to do for work? And where do I want to live? And all these, thinking about all these thoughts that you have when you come out of college. But hers was a little bit more naive and a little bit more innocent, than Cheryl's. So the writing was good, but Cheryl's was just incomparable in my opinion. It just drew me in, and you could feel her pain. A little bit different with Jen's, just because she didn't have that. So, but again, both were really great books. Jen did, in her, witness a tragic thing that happened while she was on the trail. In that part of the book, you did feel that pain. You did feel that panic. I'm not going to give away too much more of the books, but that was a good part because that really touched on that feeling and that emotion. But I feel like she struggled a little bit with portraying emotion and feeling for the rest of the time, and maybe it just wasn't there. I'm not sure. She did. She had moments where she did talk about it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't like Cheryl, and it wasn't like Wild. So that's kind of the wrap up of those books. I'm really excited about both of those books, and I think that you should read them. Both of them are good. It makes me want to go out there and walk one of those trails, to which my son said, "Mom, please, you're too old," pretty much. But just their experiences, and it just seems so cool to me to have done something like that, being in your 20s. So, again, it's Becoming Odyssa by Jennifer Pharr Davis and Wild by Cheryl Strayed. And there was a book of poems in Wild that she talked about a lot. And I have, obviously, this has been kind of through the ringer here, but It's Adrienne Rice, The Dream of Common Language. And I love these poems. Cheryl loved them in the book, and she'd talk about them, and I think she'd weave them in once in a while. And I love them too. So pick that one up too. Okay, so that's my review on Becoming Odyssa and Wild. And I really hope you guys will go out and read those. Homegoing is the one I'm reading now. It's for my next book club. I think I'll be done with this before next week. So hopefully I can review that one for you. I'm only like 20 pages in, but it's pretty short. So that's it for me tonight. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really want to get a URL that I can post places, and I can't get it till I have 100 subscribers, which is like a ton. I have like 8 right now. So if you watch this at all and you have a YouTube account, please subscribe for me. That would be great. And then Hibiscus Ginger Kombucha is another pass, and I'm really excited that next week I get to have wine. So until then, keep reading, pick up those books, and I will see you next week. Bye.